Hi there, Ken Ramsey again. Want to now look at database analysis and the relationship measurement that produces the engagement plan and really asks a different question. The question is, how do we create the best? What are the variables that you look for in delivering this very key resource? We'll delve into that topic now. First reason, ask this question: what's the source of the algorithm? Every database analysis uses an algorithm. What are you going to do with the different data points? How do you put them together? How do you make sense of them? The question to ask is, where does that algorithm come from? What forms it? What's the scientific strength of it? Best data source for an algorithm is real-world results. Not something someone dreamt up around a kitchen table. You want the results of real-world experience to form the algorithm. That's the first key question to ask when you're looking at database analysis. Next one, does it use every data point? It's surprising. Most nonprofits have their data in, of course, one central database that records usually giving history in detail. But then you find data other places. It could be another database that is used to manage and monitor events. It could be a spreadsheet that includes people who attend events. It might be another totally different database that is used for newsletter distribution, opt-in newsletters. Those are all pieces of data that can add to the picture of the relationship of every individual. Another question to ask when valuing database analysis is, does it use every data point? Absolutely every one. Does it then zero in on every individual with total precision? There are some database analysis that use things like census information that do not go down to the individual level. They perhaps go to the some geographical description. So everyone in this block is like this, but that doesn't zero in on every individual because you want information on absolutely every individual. Is it relational or is it transferable to the real world? In fact, the majority of database analysis say this person is more likely than this person to make a gift. Okay, it's kind of good to know, but it doesn't really tell you what's going to happen if you deploy these resources to engage this person or this person. What's the outcome going to be? If it's relational only, it can never tell you that. So it doesn't make that big jump to predictability in the real world. Can you then apply different tactics, different engagement tactics with different individuals? Of course, the different engagement tactics have different costs. What resources do you expend with this group of people versus this group of people? A good database analysis will tell you what to do with predictability. And that's the kind of analysis you're looking for. Can it be put to use easily? Many of us in this business have gone into nonprofits, looked at the database, and see the results of a database analysis done some years prior. And we say, what did you do with this? Well, we haven't really put it to use at all. Good information, but we didn't use it. So you want a database analysis that has the tools to be put to use immediately. We're going to show you some of those tools. If it can be put to use easily, it'll support a pipeline development. Pipeline, how do you move donors through for large gifts? That's estate gifts, leadership gifts, major gifts. It puts them through a pipeline of engagement and then cultivation, solicitation, securing a gift, and stewardship. That's the pipeline. You want an analysis that plugs into that understanding of pipeline, which is the only way to develop a strategic philanthropy program. Do you get a clear prospect engagement plan? And we're speaking here about estate giving, because with estate giving, you can be much more predictable. You can, to a certain degree, with leadership giving. Those are larger gifts that grow out of an annual fund. However, for estate gifts, you can be eminently predictable and develop a hard, clear plan to develop that full program that's possible. How sound is the predictive capabilities? This is real world. If you take this individual and do this type of and develop this type of engagement program for that individual, what will the result be? If you can get it to that fine level of predictability, you can build a business plan. You can take that to a decision maker and say, we need these resources to do this to get this. And that engagement plan, highly predictable engagement plan, is the key ingredient. And by the way, whenever you want to have a proactive program, you want to move from just gifts happening to you to turning it around and saying, we have to now be proactive and go out and engage people in different ways. To do that, you need this engagement plan. So those are the key questions to ask. So let's look at them. And now I'm going to start referring to ACG data pinpoints, because we've developed a database analysis and the supplemental tools to try to create the absolute best. Do it the right way. Here's what we did. First question was, what's the source of data? Where did it come from? Well, in our case, it comes from real-world results. We asked 700,000 plus individuals for gifts, both leadership gifts and plan gifts. And we know how all 750,000 reacted. And we know what kind of history, what kind of relationship they had that led to these outcomes. So in our case, ACG data pinpoints, we're using real world results. Nothing theoretical here. This is what happened in the real world. And we built the algorithm from that. Do we use every data point? And that's a challenge, because if we do, we can then build a highly accurate and very customized algorithm. We look at things obviously like the gift history, and we go back 10 years. And we want to know cumulative dollars. We want to know frequency of giving. These are indicators of really how much your organization is valued by your supporters. Then we'll add other factors of prospective donors. Things like what status do they have in your organization? Do they hold a title? Are they past staff? Are they past recipients of the service? Those are all indicators of propensity in the real world. We'll look at things like involvement, volunteer experience, people who give their time, their skills. They care about what you do. We can measure that in hard numbers and build a custom algorithm based on that. Whatever data points you have, we'll look at things like a newsletter list. It's not a big factor, but if people opt in to a newsletter from you, they want to hear about you. We can measure that. We have measured that. We know what its value is, and we can translate that into building an algorithm which will rate every individual based on their varied history and relationship with you. An event list. People that give up their time to come, it's, again, not a large indicator, but it does start to round out the relationship. We can get a very accurate picture if we put everything into that rounding out. Other data, whatever you've got, every data point. We've done work for organizations that send their supporters who want to on trips. It's mission driven, or they take tours of an institution, or somehow they've signified they care about you and your cause. We'll blend that into the algorithm. By the way, the type of organization really matters. Certain types of and I'm really talking in detail here about plan gifts. The propensity for plan gifts varies by type of organization. And in fact, there's a 35% spread between the lowest to the highest. So what type of organization do you represent? That does factor in, and we build that in as well. So those are all the areas of data that we get our hands on to build your algorithm, to do your scoring. Does it zero in on everyone? Does it tell every individual story? And that's what you want. And that's what we aim to build. And we develop a unique relationship propensity score for every individual. And everyone's different. This person has a score, and it's different than this person. And here's some sample scoring. So there's 4 individuals with 4 unique scores. And what we're going to do is we're going to translate that score into a plan, especially for estate giving or plan giving. We're going to go differently to these 4 different people. That's what those scores are telling us. We're going to expend more resources on one over another. The top score, 914, that person deserves to be approached one-to-one. One of your most senior fundraiser is going to go and talk to that person. Because that likelihood of that score is probably around 70 to 73% likelihood of a gift if approached the right way, one-to-one. Getting a unique score for every individual translates into, what do you do with this individual or these groups of individuals? Is it relational or predictive? Is it predictive then in the real world? And this is so important. So here's a dashboard. Here's how we've answered that. You'll be able to see how it's predictive in the real world. So here's a dashboard, and in behind are something called Scorebands. These are groups of people, and in this Scoreband, 690 to 699, there's 3,543 individuals. And if we deploy an e-survey with these people, with an average gift of $75,000, this is an estate giving planning tool, you'll get eventually 135 conversions or $10 million. And you can plot that over time. So this is a tool. Because it's predictive in the real world, we can give you a tool that you can be now strategic about how you deploy your resources. Does it work with an array of tactics, different ways to approach people? And you need that because you have to expend your resources the right way. So this is the same planning tool, but I've exploded a drop down here of tactics. And here's a sample of these tactics. You can go one-to-one with people. You can use mail, phone cultivation, so telemarketing. You can use newsletters. You can do surveys, different ways. And you can pick what tactic you want. And you can see what the outcomes will be. And this planning tool is, you can put 20 tactics here if you want. This is variable planning tool. Because your data is in behind here, locked into these Scorebands. Is it predictive for an array of tactics? Absolutely, because that's what you need. You can't afford to go one-to-one with everyone. That would be lovely if you could, but can you really go one-to-one with 3,543 people? It's not the best use of your money. These 31 people in these higher Scorebands, yes, that makes sense. Go to them one-to-one, and you'll get a much, much stronger outcome. Will it support pipeline development? Well, if you have that pipeline tool, you can then start to build a clear engagement plan. This is a pipeline tool, but once you start with data analysis, you come up with a Scoreband strategy using that dashboard I just showed, and you can say, okay, with these scores in these Scorebands here, we're going to go and use one-to-one solicitation. And we have 600 people there. And in year one, we're going to get meetings with 360 people. We're going to get 105 confirmed gifts in year one. And we know how many people we put into short and long-term cultivation, and we'll resolicit the short-term cultivation within 1 year. You can start to see that it starts with the data analysis, and if it's the right kind and the best database analysis, you can start to build pipeline plans based on, these are clear engagement plans built on the results of the measurement of relationship. This is another pipeline, 2 other pipelines, one a survey pipeline, this is a telemarketing pipeline. At the bottom, the same engagement plan. This is the bottom one. This is a telemarketing program. These are the results. These are the results of all your multi-channel engagement plan, the results for year 1. And by the way, we track variable costs down this side. You can change these numbers, and all of these marketing, travel, cultivation, stewardship, staffing costs, everything changes. This is a plan, an engagement plan, a multi-channel engagement plan that'll produce 287 confirmed plan gifts in year 1. And by the way, you're going to have 1,044 individual meetings. So you're going to need a staffing complement to do that. You're going to get $25.8 million in future gifts. This is based on a $75,000 average bequest value. The variable costs are $450,000. There's your costs per future dollar raise and current dollar based on average. We current value everything. And we can even do a cash flow built on standard mortality. Again, based on the age of your average donor. Can you build up a sound business plan out of your database analysis? You can if it's an ACG data pinpoints, because the engagement plan allows you to accurately predict the results. And you can build this kind of a business plan for a plan gift program. What's the data source of the algorithm? How did we do? Well, we use real-world data to do it. Does it use every data point? Every one we can get our hands on. Our programmers will take data in any shape that it's in to build a custom algorithm for every organization. Does it zero in on every individual with total precision? Absolutely, it has to. Is it relational? Can you take the results and start to apply them with real-world hard plans that you're going to do in the next year or 5 years, 10 years? Will it make that transition? Absolutely. Can it be applied to different tactics? Many service providers will do a database analysis, but you can only use results if you hire them to do a marketing program. Well, that's not much help to you, I'm sorry, because you can't afford to go to everyone the same way. You need to use different ways of approaching people. You have to get a database analysis that translates into real-world results for different engagement tactics, because that gives you the flexibility and it allows you to marry up the probabilities with your resources available. Can be put to use easily. That's why we develop those dashboards with real-world clear results that you can develop a clear engagement plan and build a very accurate pipeline. And if it's predictively accurate, you can build the business plan around it. That's when you marry up the dollar resources you can take to decision makers and put yourself on the line to build your program dramatically the right way. And that's the basis for any proactive program. So how did we do when we set out to build the best? We answered all those questions. Finally, if we add in a resource assessment tool, what resources do you have? What staffing model do you have? What are the goals of the organization? Where do you want to be in 3, 5, 10 years? Once you just add that piece of information to our database analysis, which does individual scoring for everybody with highly predictable results, and we do it in the form of these very easy to use, very powerful dashboards. And we can add in optional wealth assessment for plan giving. We can certainly do that. Incorporate wealth screening data, which gives you, if people with the same scores, the scores will tell you the probability, the propensity of likelihood. Who do you go to first? You go to the person with a higher wealth indicator, because you'll get a larger gift. That's why you do it. Then you can build step-by-step, multi-channel, individual engagement plans. Something you'll know what to do with every person to develop the full potential in your database so clearly that you can hang your hat on it, develop a sound business plan for your organization.